Hi, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And welcome to ReDIScover, a space where we celebrate the childlike qualities that make up the essence of who we are while engaging with the world around us, both authentically and imaginatively.
Nothing is off the table here, and we talk a little bit...
or a lot.
About, well, everything.
Around here, we're always rediscovering, sharing empowering stories, and connecting our hearts and minds with every facet of life.
While we, of course, talk about the real stuff,
we invite you to be a part of the conversation as we broaden our perspectives, release limitations,
and grow to create our most joyful and fulfilling lives together.
So come along with us as we rediscover all the best parts of you
and bring a little bit of magic into your day.
Hi everyone, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And welcome back to this week's episode of ReDIScover. We're continuing on our journey, our London Bridge journey. And this episode is bridging together that theme. And we have another interview to share with you today. So we are having a little spotlight on our dear friend Lucy. She is from London. She has worked on Disney Cruise Line and as a cultural representative at EPCOT. And we are just going to talk all about how to live a life rooted in your passions today, because Lucy's a very passionate human being. So welcome, Lucy. We are so happy that you're here.
So good to be here. I'm very excited.
This is crazy because I'm actually in London sitting next to Lucy right now. I thought we were going to have to do a three-way Zoom for this call, but here we are. So this is just so much fun. And I am so excited to be able to finally talk to you on ReDIScover.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I feel like we keep saying this, but I feel like once again, Lucy, you're somebody who's we run in the same circles and we have for so long, but I don't know that we've ever cross paths officially until right now. I don't know.
It's one of the, you're so true. Like, it's one of those ones that I feel like we would have been like at Magic Kingdom or like at Epcot together, and we probably would have had like one of those passing like, oh my goodness, hey, one of those times. But we've never like sat down. And I've always said to Jess, I'm like, we need to sit down and just like let our brains just like flow.
That's literally I think what inspired ReDIScover in the first place. But we love brain dumping between the two of us, but we love when we can have other perspectives and people who have just lived completely different or unique lives come on. And you've just had such a journey. So we're so excited to get into the different facets of it. And I was telling Jess when we were talking about recording this episode and we were kind of thinking up questions to ask you, I was like, Lucy just seems like she has this sustained identity, like through every season that she's been through. And again, this is just like my perception of kind of seeing you on social media, but through everything that you've experienced, you seem to have this very sustained energy and sustained identity and sustained drive and assurance in who you are. And I think that that's really incredible considering what different paths you've gone down and just the tumultuous nature that life is. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. But first, I feel like we should get into the credentials, if you will.
Ooh, that makes me sound really official. Do I have credentials?
Yes.
I don't know.
Like I said, we're going to kind of go through the three different pillars of Lucy that we want to highlight in this episode. We'll start with Disney Cruise Line. We will then move to Cultural Representative Program at EPCOT. And then we're going to end with London. And then also a few questions just about living a life full of passion. I think that we should just hop right into it. So, Lucy, we want to ask you about your time on Disney Cruise Line and the reality of being a crew member on the ship. So can you give us an overview of your time on Disney Cruise Line and anything about your role, the work schedule, the culture, the lifestyle, the travel aspects, like all of the facets that make up what ship life is?
It's such a big question.
It's a huge
and I'm
question.
glad we started with it because I'm going to go off on so many different tangents. Where to begin with ship life?
You can start with your role, maybe.
Let's start nice. That's the simplest place to start.
Yes.
So I was hired as a lifeguard for the Disney Fantasy way back when in 2016. What I didn't realize I was getting myself in for is that lifeguarding is also in entertainment and port adventures. So when I first got my contract and it was like, yeah, you could be working 70 hours a week, I was like, I'm going to be in the sun watching kids, families, and adults swim for 70 hours a week. Like, absolutely not. And then I found out that there was so many other things and like so many different hats you have to wear when you become a crew member. So that was mad off the bat anyway, just reading that I'd be working from like, I think it was from January till May, 7 days a week, no days off for 4.5 months. Even saying that out loud, I don't know how I did that. Oh my gosh, I was young. I was 22, all the energy. But yeah, so just, it was honestly, I can't even begin to describe what it's like. You're in this perpetual state of exhaustion, but then also so excited and so passionate about all these incredible places you're going to go, the incredible people you're going to meet, and then the incredible just like experiences and like kind of the Disney magic that you get to experience in the park as a cast member, just on a ship. And then you're exhausted. And then like the kind of behind the scenes, where to begin? You literally eat, sleep, work, play, party, travel with the same people from 30 different cultures and nationalities. A lot of them English isn't their first language as well, so that's fun to navigate. But you just get to meet the most incredible people, and not just the crew members and stuff, but all the families you meet along the way. It's insane. When I verbalize it, I'm like, how did I do that for 7 contracts?
I know, you were like Disney Cruise Line poster child,
honestly. Back to back. I mean,
Yeah.
I did get the experience to work with DCL Careers on a photo shoot.
Yeah, media lifeguard.
So yeah, if you Google me and YouTube like DCL lifeguard advert, you get to see me. It's great. They did my hair and makeup, and they just made us like walk carrying equipment and like press the button on the aqueduct to send people, and it was a fun morning. But
That's
yeah,
really cool.
that was fun.
Yeah. So then I think one thing, because I came to visit you on the ship, one thing that was really interesting was the living quarters.
Oh yes.
If you want to share about what that's like.
So those of you who don't know me, I'm a 6 foot, very long, lanky woman. And the living quarters are literally, I could touch like both walls with my hands. Like, it was tiny. It was like when you're in your bunk bed, like you can kind of get up on your elbows, but you can't sit up fully. Otherwise you'll just dong your head on the ceiling. You get 1 wardrobe and 2 drawers. And you could be on that ship for up to 6 months. Ladies, you have to wear the same thing over and over again. Let me tell you that for free. And it just, I don't know if you notice like the smell of the crew areas as well. It has a smell. And if you've worked on Disney Cruise Line, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Like the I-95, which is like the corridor that literally goes from like the aft to the forward of the ship. It has just an indescribable smell. And that's, yeah, you learn to live with it.
I was going to ask you to describe it, but if it's indescribable.
I honestly, like, genuinely, I feel like people who've worked on the ship will be sitting there just nodding like, yeah, whatever it is, that is the smell.
Yeah. I like that the walkway is named after a highway.
Yeah.
But that's what it is on all cruise ships, and I didn't know that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's called it's called an I-95, and it literally is because it's like you say, it's like the highway of the ship, because then on the I-95 there's like each corridor will like lead off to like the engine room or like the crew mess or like the cabin quarters, and it is pretty cool because you can, on the classic ships, you can see from the back all the way to the forward. It's just one straight line on the classics, but then on the dream class, which is the dream and the fantasy, it goes like sideways, so you can't see the whole way. But I should have said that in my intro. I can boast that I've worked on all 4 ships. But then they're about to open the Wish, so
you're like,
I can't.
you can just go vacation. Okay, wait. So the classics are the Magic and the Wonder.
Yep.
And then the dream class is the dream and the fantasy.
Correct.
So then is the Wish in a class of its own?
I believe it's called the Triton class, or that's what it was called, because they're releasing 3 ships with it.
Are they anymore, or is it only 2 now?
That's the thing. So when I left in 2020, there was supposed to be 3 coming out in 2021, 2022, and 2023. But then that thing happened and they didn't cruise for a long time.
That one panini.
That thing.
Like you literally can't say it because if it's included in the audio of your episode, Spotify and Apple will be like, for more information about
right.
the
So
thing.
yeah, and
I'm like, I don't want people to think this episode is about that.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if they're doing 3. I know that they're doing 2
Yeah,
of the 3 for sure.
At least 2.
I think they're gonna like see how it goes.
And then I think one other thing that I wanted to ask you about for a little overview is there's a lot of travel, of course, because you are on a cruise ship and people come for vacation. So what is the whole travel aspect like? Do you have time to go visit the places you're docking at? What's the deal?
So again, a little boast, a little flex here. I think I visited like 36 different cities across like 12 countries, which is mad. Like, again, whenever I say it out loud, I'm like, how did I do that in such a short space of time? But I will start this by saying I was quite lucky because I was a lifeguard, and in the entertainment department, I did get pretty generous time off. I think if you're in, I can't speak for other roles, but I can kind of speak from my experience as a lifeguard and in Port Adventures. I was able to get like minimum at least 2 hours off in each port. And then sometimes I could get like a whole day off in the port. And let me tell you, you learn very quickly to find like somewhere that has food, somewhere that has Wi-Fi, and somewhere where you can like take a cool picture for Instagram. Like it's pretty cool. So, but the travel scenario, it's honestly like, for example, I went to Russia, which normally you have to get like a special visa to go in there. But like as a seafarer, they just like let me in and all the other crew members. And I actually got to go see like the Russian ballet.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
in Russia. And that was pretty cool. And then all these places in Norway and in the Caribbean, like you just go and you just find out from the locals, like what's the coolest thing to do. And then because I was in Port Adventures, I sometimes got like complimentary tickets as like crew incentives. They do crew trips. It was wild, honestly. If you want to see lots of places very quickly, work on a cruise ship.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was mad.
I also think it's really interesting too, because it seems like anyone who works on the ship, your breaks may only be an hour or a few hours, and it seems like a lot of time, but it's really not.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like in an hour, I remember one time I had 90 minutes in Norway, and
90 minutes in Norway.
90 minutes in Norway, in Stavanger, if anyone has been on the Disney Magic. And there's this place that's like a viewpoint. It's like 408 stairs. And like, again, if you already know me, I'm like I'm a personal trainer. Like I'm really into my fitness. I ran, like genuinely like ran to the top of this 408 step staircase and then came back down and then just like went back to work like it was nothing.
Oh
like,
my
just
God.
Bizarre.
That's crazy.
Whereas now on my hour lunch break, I'm like, oh, the canteen is like 10 paces away. Can I be bothered to go buy my lunch? And I'm like, how did I do so much in a 1 hour break? Like,
yeah,
it was mad.
I just feel like you just didn't sleep for a really long time.
Let me tell you,
I'm doing the math in my head and I'm like, this does not compute.
You run on empty. And like, if we want to get into like the legality and legislation of it, you can work so long as you have minimum 6 hours to sleep, then you can work like back to back. So the maximum you can work in a day is 14 hours.
Oh my God.
Okay.
But then say, for example, your shift ends at midnight, you then can't legally work under maritime law till at least 6:30 a.m. So you have to be given 6.5 hours sleep. And I'm like, how nice of them.
How kind.
6.5 hours. Like it's
But like, that's not 6.5 hours of sleep.
No,
right.
Yeah.
6.5 hours between shifts.
Clocking in and clocking out.
Yeah.
It's mad. And again, like the one good thing about cruise line is if your shift did start at like 8 a.m, you could literally wake up at 7:55, put your uniform on and be on deck in 5 minutes.
That's true.
I wouldn't advocate that because people were just walking around like zombies. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? You literally just live in this world of like, and as well, just clock. Oh gosh, it's bringing back kind of good memories and bad memories.
Yeah. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like at the time when you were doing it, your passion to be there and like appreciating all the little good things about it really drove you to push through
Oh yeah, you have
At
to
that
have
time.
a mindset like that, or it will
Yeah.
or you won't last very long.
Yeah.
It's the way ship life goes. Like new hires come on every like Friday, for example, on the fantasy, and you can see, like, you can be like, okay, of a group of new hires, you can be like, that's going to be a for lifer, and that's going to be someone that does like 1 or 2 contracts and then leaves. Because
Yeah.
you can just tell people's attitude straight away. You have to just, like you say, make the most of it, and like make the most of the potentially exhausting and negative situations, and just be like, I'm here, I get to travel the world, let's do it properly.
Yeah. It's like if the
Yeah.
payoff in your mind is worth it, like if the traveling aspect is worth it, and like the experiences and the Disney aspect is worth it, then
Yeah,
yeah. And I think that's why it's so important to like find people, and hopefully why this will be helpful for some people too as a resource, but to talk to someone who's gone through it, who's done the overseas contract or the cruise line contract, or just worked for the company in general, just to kind of get their perspective, but also to really like put yourself into that lifestyle and go, okay, like, does this align with, you know, what I want? Am I somebody who wants to travel and meet a bunch of new people all the time? Or am I more of a homebody? If you're a homebody, maybe this isn't for you.
I think I used to have this misconception, but it's like, if it's not for you, like, that's not a bad thing. But if it is for you, like, that's
run with it.
Yeah, run with it. But like, you don't need to diminish your worth or your ability or capability if that's not for you, because it's difficult. And it's really about what your priorities are. And it's really about if it's aligned to you. And at the time, it was aligned to you.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And now not as much, but we'll get into that later. And that's okay. Like, it's great. It's all about the seasons of life.
Definitely. And if I had to like sum it up in like one sound bite of like, if people are sitting at home like listening to this being like, oh, maybe I should do it, like, you have to ask yourself how much you value stability in your life, which I know sounds like a silly question, because everyone's like, yeah, I'd love a stable life. But honestly, for like 3 years, the controlled chaos of my life was kind of all I ever wanted. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now I'm like, I value stability and being in control. If you like being in control, don't work for a cruise line. I can tell you that for free. You can't, nothing's in your control.
So I guess, this kind of does piggyback off of the exhaustion and the just intense schedule. And obviously, you know, you would not have done, what was it, 7 contracts?
7.
If you were not as passionate as you were about working on the ship, but it is an extremely intense lifestyle. So were there days where you just really had to push through, and like, how do you deal with the burnout in those moments?
I'll try and like attack it from 2 different sides, because for me, it was quite personal to my job role, the days when it was so hard, because I'm an outside job. So if it was like chucking it down with rain, or it was like blistering hot, I had to be on deck minimum 6 hours a day. And let me tell you, there were times where I was honestly so cold, I couldn't feel like anything from like my hands, my feet, my toes, my face. I was freezing cold, and I just had to stand there and be like, I need to be out here for another 4 hours. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Like, those days were like rubbish. Like, there's no other word to describe it. You just feel like you can't be bothered. It's hard. I don't even know how I got through those days, genuinely. This is so silly, but like on those cruises, I would go from like freezing, can I say freezing my tits off?
Yeah, sure.
I go from like freezing my tits off in Norway, and then 3 days later I'd be sweating, and my body was like, what is going on? So I think you just have to try and always be like, at least it will be sunny another day. I don't know. It was like, it was bizarre, the like little pep talks you have to give yourself. It's and then you genuinely fall in love with like napping on like a different level. And then everyone used to make fun of me, like when I went, because I went from cruise line to CRP back to cruise line, and my CRP, like, I would nap, and people would be like, okay, and I'm like, guys, trust me, you need them. Like, I would genuinely just be like, I'm cold, all I want to do is be in my cabin and have a little sleep. And that's just like the pep talk that got me through. Oh my gosh.
But I think that's so true. You look back on it now and you're like, how did I get through that? But I really think it is those little pep talks you give yourself in the moment that just get you to the next moment and then to the next moment. It's not some like great overarching, like, well, I'm going to get through this. And 6 years from now, it will pay off because whatever. Like in those moments, you're not thinking big picture. You're thinking like, in a few days, I'll be somewhere sunny. In a few days, the weather will be cooler or whatever, just to get you kind of to the next. It's literally like taking the next step and the next step and the next step.
100%. And it teaches you as well, like there is honestly no other option. Like in that moment, genuinely, I could try and like radio my coordinator and be like, look, I am literally so hot, I'm going to pass out. And they're like, that TikTok that's like, that's too damn bad. I'd be like, I'm tired, Grandpa.
Right.
And you just have to keep like, there is no option.
Right.
You have one option, do it.
I think the trap that I would fall into is I would always be thinking about, okay, if I can just push through this many weeks or this many months, I'll have my freedom again. And it's like, you can't even think of it like that. You have to be so present in the moment of this is what I'm living. I can't think about like the next phase of my life. And that is a very intense exercise to do as a human,
100%.
Because especially if you're someone who's, a future forecaster, like I tend to be, or if you just don't want to deal with the uncomfortable feelings of the moment.
Yeah. And if you've ever been a lifeguard, you have to sometimes be by yourself for like minimum 30 minutes, but sometimes I could be by myself for like 90 minutes.
It's a lot of
just
thoughts.
looking at water. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to stay alert, put to the back of your head how tired and hungry you are, put to the back of your head like how much you miss your family and stability and home and all your friends. It's mad.
Yeah.
You're really selling it.
I know. But I've been to so many countries and I got to see the mouse whenever I wanted.
And they have all the like the Marvel days and the Star Wars days.
I opened Star Wars Day at Sea, which was again like, it's crazy to think. I still have all the merch now. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool thing to like say that I was there and did that. Yeah, we should start highlighting the good stuff.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Spit them out.
Yeah.
One of the things that you don't even think is going to be that exciting and important, but like, say for example, even now, like even though I left cruise line 2 years ago, I could literally call up any of my mates in like Canada or Argentina or America or Australia and just be like, hey, I'm going to be in your city for like 2 days. And they'll be like, cool, sleep on my sofa. And I'm like, yes. So, and I did that. I literally like would meet up with all these amazing people. And I still to this day have friends who are like, oh, I'm in London. Can I come see you? And I'm like, obviously, like that's one of the coolest things. That's mad. And then again, if we're talking like actual ship life, like the parties and the events, and like if you are like me and you love meeting characters and like going to the shows, and it was mad. We'd do stuff like Disney Broadway EPCOT Festival of the Arts show. That like debuted on the ships as like Set Sail with the Stars.
That's cool.
And it had like the original voice of Meg, who was obviously Belle on Broadway. And then oh my gosh, just all these incredible singers. And I got to go like watch shows like that, fireworks twice a week. I could just like get an ice cream and go on deck 4, just like sit there, and then they pump the music out and you get like this Pirates of the Caribbean music. You're in the middle of the ocean looking at fireworks, and you're like, you like take a breath and you're like, this is my life. So that those times were like, oh my gosh.
If you love Disney Cruise Line or you love those unique experiences, if you're working there, you don't miss them, because if you're a guest, you only get to go on for 4 days or 7 days, or that way you got to really go through the motions of every new thing that was coming, or see every offering they had instead of just a little taste of it like you would only get in 3 days.
That's true, actually. When you compare it to like when I then did go on my first cruise as a guest, I was like, how do you fit this all in?
You can't. There's so much to do.
In 4 months, I barely did everything that the Disney fantasy had to offer.
Right.
It was mad.
Yeah. And those are the moments that sustain you, I think, through the like, I'm freezing and I'm tired and I'm hungry and I miss my family. It's the moment where you get to take a breath. You get to catch your breath and look around and really be present and realize like, oh my gosh, this is actually a really cool thing that not a lot of people get to do. And now you have all of these memories from all these places all over the world. You have friends all over the world.
Yeah.
And that's something I think even fewer people can say. So
yeah, it's such a practice of being present and
yeah.
gratitude. And that
Yeah.
I think that's the secret formula from what I can tell anyway.
The
Yeah.
being present, definitely.
Yeah.
That honestly, like just, oh,
yeah.
now I'm getting sentimental. So
But
this is
I was
a whirlwind.
But I really think that said, of all of the ways to work for the Walt Disney Company, whether it's like here in the States or, you know, for certain roles that you can do in the overseas parks and cruise line, I think cruise line to me sounds like the most polarizing. Like you really will love it or you won't, and you're really like cut out for it or you're not. And so it's, I think that much more important to like weigh those things.
Yeah.
So on that note, shall we transition to your other main experience within Disney that was on land?
On land, yes.
Yes. Lucy, can you describe what it's like being a cultural representative at EPCOT? We will probably refer to it as the CRP. Like, what's the lifestyle there? And it's a lot different than cruise line, obviously.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Go at it. Let us know.
Oh my gosh, honestly, what did Haley say about it? Because honestly, you can't even like summarize it in a couple of words.
Right.
Like,
oh yeah, by the way, Haley, who we interviewed a few episodes before, is one of Lucy's best friends, hence how we all know each other. So we've talked about it in Haley's episode too, which we'll link.
Yeah, I don't even know how she summarized it, because you just like, again, it is actually mad when you say it out loud. Like, you live and work with people from all over the world. Like, my roommates were from Japan, and then it was just little old me from England, which is pretty cool. And yeah, you just like live with these people and then go and work at what Disney has decided British culture is. I mean, we definitely all wear like fake corsets and little aprons and ankle length skirts all the time. Obviously, that's what we wear here in the UK.
As you're wearing jeans and
and
regular shirt.
This can sound super cliche, but it was like the best 15 months of my life. It was amazing because I got to extend, so I was pretty lucky. But oh my gosh, it was crazy.
Yeah, and you were at the Rose and Crown.
I was at the Rose and Crown. Started, you do like 4 months on podium, so I got to, you know, serve fish and chips with a little bonnet on, again, really British, and then like pool pints and stuff. That was pretty cool. And then as a server, that was honestly one of the best jobs I've ever had. It was fantastic if you ever get the opportunity to be a server for Disney.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So
I always thought it was a little, I don't know, it was a little odd to me that all of the international program cast members were like, would like live together. And then all of the college program, like the American college program cast members, like lived together, and they never like mixed us.
Yeah.
They don't do that. I don't know if they do that now, but I always thought that was so strange, because I think that's so cool and like definitely a challenge, because you do have like the cultural barriers and sometimes like, you know, language or at least like accent barriers and things. But I always thought it was so cool that like you guys all got to live together, and then I was just with like whoever from Indiana or something. And that's when too, like you still meet, you know, make friends that, you know, live in different places, and I'm friends with several of them still. But I was like, I want a roommate from Europe, or I want a roommate from Asia. Like,
I mean, when I extended, I was put in with Americans.
Hey,
really?
Which was amazing. And I'm still friends with those girls now. And we went on a trip to Disneyland Paris together like 2 years ago. And it was really fun. And that was honestly like the last 8 weeks of my program, living with all Americans. I loved it. So I would have loved to have done that for like the whole time.
Yeah. And I always thought that would make it easier on you guys too.
Then you know people who might have a car or know the area a little bit more. You can go home with them to visit, maybe stuff like that.
That's why I just hang out with you so much though.
I know. We
like,
literally hung out constantly.
I'd be like, after work, do you want to go get Chipotle? And then you just like come to the Epcot cast parking lot and we just go get Chipotle.
We would just go walk around Target because it was just the simple things.
Those are the days, man.
Yeah. And I think when you are in an environment, like when you're at Disney all the time, you really do crave simplicity. Like you're stimulated all the time. So all you want to do is just like have a movie night and get takeout and go to Target.
See all the homeware.
Yeah.
Look at all the candles you can't buy for CP housing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
There's so many things I forgot were a thing.
Let's petition.
I was going to say, I don't know why. I don't know if it's still the case because it's been so many years since like any of us have
I don't know what they're going to
lived
do.
in CP housing.
Yeah. Now
it doesn't even exist anymore. I know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But I hope that they've like shaken it up a little, but
definitely.
Yeah. It seems like you guys had different traditions that you did and like a work culture within your location.
Especially in the UK pavilion, I think as well. And I feel like we're known throughout the world as Brits that love drinking culture.
Oh, for sure.
And I know that like obviously drinking culture is quite big at like college level in the States especially, and like when we blended our like British way of drinking with like the American college way of drinking, God, it went off. It went off. There's nothing like it now. Honest, and me and Haley did say this one time. We were just like, what we would do to just relive like just like one night doing Happy Mondays or doing like a Cowboys night out, just like one time, and then I think I'd be okay. And the fact I would sometimes go out like 4 or 5 nights a week. How, I don't know. I just one. Just give me one more time.
Wow.
And then I'll go back to my boring, stable life that I'm living right now. But just once. Just let me do it.
Oh my God.
So funny.
I know. But I think the cool thing about working for Disney, whether it's cruise line or in the parks or etc., like I feel like it's such a good thing to do, especially in your younger days, like your early 20s. Like you just gain all these experiences and make all these memories, make so many friends, and there's just nothing like it. And you get to keep those memories forever and just laugh about all the good times and reunite with people down the road. It's really fun to look back on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The memories or lack of memories.
Oh my God. I would remember like listening to like the days I would work at Epcot, like the UK cast members or the Norwegians like talk about Happy Mondays, and I would be like, you guys are insane.
Yeah, honestly, if you ever sat on like, the C bus would go to Epcot. Oh my gosh, if you ever got on like the A or the B bus that went to Magic Kingdom, everyone was like exhausted or sleeping on that bus, but probably from working. But if you ever got on the C bus, everyone was like exhausted because they'd been out partying. So good times.
I remembered coming in for Akershu's breakfast at like 6:45, and all the Norwegians would just be like, nope. Don't talk to me, don't acknowledge me. I'd be like, good morning, and it would be like, die.
That's so funny.
Oh my gosh, I wish we had I wish we had something like that in the UK.
I know, that would have been so fun. I would have known you and Haley a lot sooner.
Well, that could be so doable,
like afternoon tea with Mary Poppins,
Pooh and Tigger.
Oh my gosh,
anybody there's so many UK characters. You could even do Peter Pan and Wendy.
That's
Disney. Hello.
I've always thought there should be a tea room, and because there was once that they did during Flower and Garden, like a tea thing. It was like an event. You did the like tea tour, and then you had tea at Rose and Crown. I was like, why isn't tea in the UK like always a thing?
I feel like they could expand. Well, the UK is made up of so many individual places. You could expand it so much.
Yeah,
we should. Disney needs to get us on board. We need to start making these things happen.
Honestly.
Well, since we're kind of in the realm of, the cultural differences in the UK drinking culture and everything, what are the other most distinctive cultural differences you noticed between the UK and the US while you were here for those 15 months?
I love this question so much.
There's so much to say.
Because it's the best, isn't it? Because I feel like all the time we always say, you guys don't do that here. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, I love it.
I've learned so much about cultural differences
Yeah,
between UK and US because of our friendship.
100%. Like,
Honestly.
honestly, it's bizarre. Like one of the most obvious ones, and maybe it's just because like I'm London born and raised, but like Americans are so friendly. Whereas in London, like if you smile at someone or if you like nudge someone, I feel like it's the kind of reputation that like New Yorkers have, like in Manchester.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's very like, maybe especially like the place I lived, Orlando, is like notorious for like really happy, friendly, approachable people.
Yeah.
And then obviously like my sister-in-law's from South Carolina, so that like Southern hospitality thing, that's real. Let me tell you, they're nice people. And then you guys just do, oh no, I might upset people by saying this, but like you do everything better. Let me pick a few examples. Like your theme parks, amazing. Like, yes, I work at a British theme park now, and I'm sure people that visit that British theme park will also agree, but like just the theming, the rides, the ride mechanisms, everything's just amazing out there.
Yeah.
And then, okay, obviously food, whether it's better might be a question mark. It's definitely bigger, which is fun.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different. Like
fun.
It is what it is. And then going kind of as a tangent off the friendlier one, your blokes are hysterical.
Blokes?
Your men, your lads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like dating in America was like, I don't even have the word for it, but they were just very outgoing, very like direct.
Yeah.
Whereas like British blokes are just not.
That's actually an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Because you've gotten to experience both of those.
I did. Yeah.
Not direct as in like passive, or just
I mean
more reserved.
Let me tell you. So I'm
genuinely curious.
This is honestly like, even saying this, whenever I think about it, I'm like, that is mad. Like I would just be out somewhere, whether it was like just at Disney Springs or like just at somewhere in America, and a man would just come up to me, hey, you're cute, can I have your number? And I'm like, what does this to me? And like in England, okay, maybe like, look, again, don't want to offend anyone, but like in London, like you might get like what we call road men come up to you and be like, can I get your number? Yeah, like that. And it's no, it doesn't, I don't know, it's different. But in America, men would just like come up to me, and then I'd start talking, and then they'd just talk to me even more because they could hear my accent. But oh my gosh, they were just very forward. Even if I was just at like Publix or just anywhere.
Oh, Publix is the worst.
Yeah.
That is like where it always happens.
It's like speed dating. It's like,
speed dating at Publix.
Leave me alone.
I feel like that happens like regularly at Publix.
Yeah.
Like not just to me, but like I hear that.
Yeah, it's a thing. Just anywhere I was, it was forward.
So then in England, is it more so like a slow build or like a more coy approach?
I guess it's more coy. Or again, coming back to drinking culture, you just get like people getting absolutely smashed, and then like discussions and relationships start that way. I don't know.
That's funny.
And I think as well, English men aren't as forward about their like emotional feelings.
Probably why they need a drink.
So they'll be courage. Yeah. But that was definitely a very big difference. And I'm trying to think, there's so many little ones that like you don't notice till you then say it.
Well, just phrases.
Yeah, phrases. Sometimes I'd say things and Jess would literally look at me like, I remember one time I was like, the sat nav, what's on the sat nav? And you literally looked at me like,
what's a sat nav?
What is a sat nav? It's a GPS.
Oh, I was also like, what is it? I have no idea.
The more you know.
But it's words that you don't say that frequently though, because everyone knows the obvious ones, like you guys say like water and stuff like that, like those ones. But then words like sat nav you don't say very frequently, so you're like,
it's just like the different names for things, like
but
like even referring to like we would say guys, you would say like blokes or lads, but I would like, if I were talking to Jess, it'd be like, these guys are crazy over here, like
We went to a rugby game the other day, so British, but it was so funny because everyone's yelling, "Come on, lads!" And I was like, "Oh my god,
That's cute."
I'm taking that back to the stage."
It's going back to the stage. We'll be watching American
Because
football. Go on,
we
go on,
just think
lads.
we just think there's this perception, I think, from being an American of those kinds. They're so cute and endearing and sweet, and like you're at a rugby game, but like, come on, that's just adorable. Like,
it was pretty wild,
precious.
I know. I love too that there's signage out here that has all the phrases that are different than America. So it'll be like, "Do you fancy a coffee?" And I'm like,
so true.
Like in America, they don't say fancy.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I said stuff like that back when I first started living in States. I'd be like, "What do you fancy?
What do you fancy?
What do you fancy?" Or like English people sometimes be like, "What am I like?" And then sometimes Americans would want to answer me, and I'm like, no, it's a rhetorical question. So say for example, you say something that's like a bit silly or a bit daft. Yeah. Like, what am I like?
Yeah.
bit silly, bit ditzy, like that, I guess. But it just you wouldn't expect an answer to that.
And like our version of that would be like, "Oh, why am I like this?"
Yes.
Why am I like
That's what we would say.
Yeah, that is true.
Oh, this is a big one. When you walk into somewhere and they say to you, "You okay?"
You okay? Yeah.
And I'm like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?"
Well, do I not look okay?
But
that is a big one.
It's really just like, "How are you?"
Yeah.
Yeah. They're these, we just basically, we're like children. We like take these phrases so literally because we don't know that they don't mean what they sound like they mean.
Yeah.
Wait, and then on the opposite side of that, I found this a lot, not just when I was in the States, but on the ships as well, like non-English, British speaking English speakers. I'd be like, "See you later," or "See you later," like, and they're like, "I literally now won't see you for like 2 weeks." I'm like, "Yeah, see you later." Don't know.
That's funny because we say that in America too, but maybe that's
we
like
literally mean later.
We'll see them later.
See
you later. I don't know. I used to say it, and they'd be like, "I will not see you later."
I think I say it if I'm like, I'll see them like later that day, or like maybe even later like that week, but not if there's like some indefinite amount of time before I'll see them again.
But for us, we just like sprinkle it into everything. I don't know. See you later. See you later.
So funny.
No, you won't.
This is like one of my favorite discussions, just the differences.
Yeah, there's so many that you don't realize, and I feel like sometimes contextually you can figure it out, but like if you walked in somewhere and someone said, "You okay?" I'd be like, "Is there something on my face? Like, what is my shoe untied? Like, what's going on?"
It's too cute.
Yeah.
If I think of anything over like the next coming weeks, I'll just text you, because honestly, they do just pop up when you're not even like when you don't even realize.
It's like, just like when we're talking, that's when I remember them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we want to ask you next question.
Ready.
So there may be a listener or two out there who are interested in these sorts of opportunities we talked about: Disney Cruise Line, applying for a cultural representative program. But how do you go about applying for these things? Can you share a little bit of insight?
Yes, I can. Definitely from a British perspective. I mean, I think it's a little different depending on where you're from. But for us here in the UK, it's through a company called Yummy Jobs. That's where I applied for both my CP and my CRP. And yeah, it's a rigorous process. So strap in, like, lots and lots of people apply, and there's like 3 rounds. But hey, if you've got your heart set on it, like, that passion will show through in your application, both written and verbal. So just crack on with that with Yummy Jobs. And then in terms of cruise line, as we alluded to earlier, there's the dcljobs.com. You might see me on there, but yeah, it's DCL Jobs or DCL Careers, and there they have literally everything. Usually it will then refer you to like your own kind of regional employer or recruiter. So for us in England, it was called like Entertainment Excellence if you're applying for DCL Entertainment. But DCL Entertainment, like I said, includes lifeguards. Don't ask me why. I loved it because it meant I got guest privileges. But yeah, that's how I did it. It's an arduous process. It is very long. So just, be prepared for that side of it.
Yeah.
It was heavy. It was a long time. And you wait a long time as well. So get ready to wait.
Yeah, I think that's an important point to note anytime you apply for Disney jobs, is most of the time especially if you're coming internationally. It is a long process.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of, I'm sure it's even more lengthy and rigorous for international.
Yeah,
because you have to pay for your visa.
Visas, yeah.
There's more on the line for them. I mean, because they really are like investing in you more
100%.
because as much as people relocate here, like you literally have to leave the country. So it's more of an investment for you and for them of your time and of their time and money.
And I think it's great we're doing this episode now because they just opened the applications for cultural representative program again in EPCOT after over 2 years.
2 years.
It's since the pandemic
CP as well, though, the international CP that just reopened.
Yeah, so that's really exciting.
Get on it, kids.
Yeah, but just opened early April, so
for literally this year, like if you apply now, you could be there in June, which is mad. That's a very short space of time.
This episode is not sponsored by the Disney Cultural Representative Program, for those of you curious. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about Happy Mondays and getting smashed.
But here's your free advice. The applications are open and it seems like a really fun time. It really did. And I got to
best 15 months of your life.
I got to be like a pseudo UK visitor.
Yeah, you did.
And we always had fun. I never made it to Happy Mondays, but I heard the stories. So
yeah, it's kind of, some evenings are like burned on my retinas. They're just so like traumatic, but amazing, but traumatic.
Yeah.
And we know three people three that we've had on ReDIScover. Kaylee, Lucy, and Emily.
Yeah,
all done programs of some kind.
Emily Bonnet.
Emily,
she was in France.
She was in France.
Yeah, she was in France, and then she did a cruise line contract as well.
She did. She was with me.
Well, we've had a couple cruise line and quite a few UK.
And now she's in Shanghai.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wild.
Locked down. Poor thing.
But she's killing the game right now. Shout out Millie Main Street.
Yeah. Well, I remember going to visit her when she was at Monsieur Paul and she had her cute little vest.
Oh, that outfit was so cute.
It was adorable. She looked so cute. She looked like Audrey Hepburn.
Oh my god. So true.
So true.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, we're this episode is so tangential, but I love it. It's actually
I feel like it's so full. Like there's just so
there's so much to talk about.
People's hearts are full after this.
Absolutely.
And their minds.
Exactly.
Okay, so we did cruise line for 7 contracts. 15 months at EPCOT.
Yeah.
And after all of those years, you are finally back in London. How are you feeling being back in London after all of those experiences and kind of living out your passions and your life in the familiar environment? Like, does it feel new to you or does it feel just like coming home?
That's a really good question. Because I think as well, like just like sneakily going back to cruise line, I think anyone that does cruise line, because what we haven't said, you do get time off in between your contracts, whether it's like 6 months. 6 months, loose, 6 weeks. You get like,
wow. How old are you?
No, you get like anything from like 4-6 weeks is normal, but then sometimes you could request like 2 months or so. But like every time you come home after a contract, it feels weird because, like you said, it's like, this is where I've grown up. This is where my family and friends are. But you kind of feel like a bit of like an alien in your hometown. It's weird. You guys probably get it when you like go to Orlando for a long time, then go back to Buffalo. You're probably it's so familiar, but it's not.
Yeah.
You're like in this like dream state. It's kind of weird, but
whenever you move away from home, I feel like, and go back.
I even feel that way after like a short time. Like I've just been bouncing back and forth a lot lately. And like, I just feel like I literally woke up 2 days ago and I was like, oh, it's probably cold outside. And then I realized I was in Florida. I was like, wait, I'm not in New York right now.
Like, wait, you don't, oh, Florida heat, I missed that. At least you always knew it was going to be warm in Florida.
True.
Whereas here, I mean, for example, today, like 2 weeks ago, I was in shorts, but today I got my winter coat back out because we love London. That was honestly, and as well, you get so like acclimatized. This is like the boring part of moving home again, but I was so used to like the Bahamian sunshine and the 30-degree weather in Orlando twice a week. And then I came home and I was honestly, let me tell you, it is cold in England. And took me a long time to get used to that again. And the fact that we actually have seasons. That was fun.
30 degrees Celsius, by the way.
Celsius.
Not,
I was like waiting for Jess to chime in with the Celsius.
Another difference.
I was going to say, that's so true. But yeah, it is honestly super weird. And I think it hasn't really helped that I moved home permanently after the Pandanini, because obviously life was very different anyway, just moving home. So I had like both coming home after 5 years of traveling the world mixed with the entire of my community is on lockdown and I can't see anyone. So that was proper weird. I think that was bizarre. And then like as the world like reopened, I don't really know if that's the same sort of terminology you use. Yeah, like the world reopening in London, at least, like they then did this rule that you had to drink. If you wanted to drink, you could only be outside. So then we're all huddled like penguins around these heat lamps being like, oh, look at us, we're having a pint, like how normal. And I was like, what? No, it's not.
At that point, I'd just rather be at home because it's warm there.
Honestly,
right.
yeah. So that was super weird. The first like year I moved back home. Yeah. And then even then, like I moved away for uni and then was only at home for 6 months in London. And then I moved away for 5 years. So I literally haven't like lived in London since like 2011.
Wow.
That's
mad.
10
years.
Wow.
That's super weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally only lived in York, which is like another very beautiful city in the UK, which if you do ever come here, you should go to York. It's lovely. And there's lots of Harry Potter stuff there as well.
Oh, next time.
Yeah. That's the thing. There's only so much you can do in like 6 weeks.
I want to come back to England and do all the places outside of London.
Yeah, go off the beaten track.
Yeah. We'll get into this next episode, but London is jam-packed.
It is, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah.
It's a good question.
So then how are you finding incorporating your passions in life now to this new London lifestyle?
Oh, I love that question because I do try and like you've already said, like both on this episode and just like in our lives, we always say that like we try and chase our passions and like do the things that actually like make us happy. Yeah. Like we say, we work to live. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
not
it's
live
like,
to work.
yeah. So if I can find something that I am like thoroughly passionate about, it's a win-win. So when I did move home and I was like, cool, I need to make money. So I've always loved sport and exercise. So I became a personal trainer and a fitness coach. So I get to do that. And that doesn't even feel like work. Like it's amazing. I get to teach people how to like lift weights and love their body. And I'm like, that's really cool that I get to do that. Yeah. So, and again, like doing it in central London, I do it at like this really big gym chain in London where like all the bankers and stuff go. So it's like quite bougie. But I just love doing that. Like I literally, on one day I could be like in Holborn and then I could like go over to Shepherd's Bush and then I could be like in Old Street and Bank. And it's, oh my gosh, it's super cool. I do enjoy that. Yeah. But yeah, it's just about, I don't know, I've tried to get into like the swing of London life again, of like, I don't know, just like going out for drinks and like going for coffee shop walks and just like being with my family again. And it's super nice. I missed it. Yeah. That's so nice that you can bring that spark of your passion into this and kind of chill out a little bit after 10 years of craziness. Honestly. But that's like the adventure. You know? And then I've done you come home and I'm happy. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. And I think it is different to, just because there was such a large chunk of time, 10 years, you're like fully an adult now, you know, like you come back and so it's not even just that you've changed, it's just that like London's changed, you've changed, but you've both like grown. I don't know. I experienced that when I moved back to New York, albeit briefly. I was like, oh, this city feels different to me now that I'm an adult, like I'm experiencing it in a different way. And there are all these things that I get to do or explore that I didn't before. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
I
It
had the
makes
same
it seem
thing.
new, even though it's
Yeah.
not.
No,
Right.
definitely. And I'm viewing it as like my mates that either I went to school with or like went to uni with and moved here, they got to live that like proper London, like 9 to 5, you know, tubing in and out of the city every day, like going for drinks in Central after work and stuff like that. Like they got to live that life while I was in, you know, Norway and the Caribbean and whatnot. And like now I feel like it's my turn to like come into that. I wasn't ready for that then. In fact, I actively pushed that away. I was like, oh, the commuter life, not for me. But now I'm a commuter and I'm like, oh, brum brum, I love it. It's so fun.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like leaning into that now.
Yeah.
Like you say, I've had the 10 years of madness, like uni and then DCL and then CRP and then back to DCL. And now I'm like, hey, let's actually like slow down. Let's be in tune with who we are. Let's do what actually makes us happy. Let's be with people that make us happy. Because again, you're sometimes so busy, you kind of, I don't know if you guys ever felt this at Disney, like you almost are so busy, you never actually reflect on like, am I happy? Am I enjoying this?
Yeah.
Am I enjoying this? Because society says if you travel, work for a great company and love that company, you should be happy. Oh my God, stop.
Kristen's hitting her face with a pillow.
Hitting myself in the head with a pillow.
It's true.
It is true. You're like, when you then finally actually stop, and I think a lot of us did in the pandemic, you got a chance to stop and be like, okay, what actually makes me happy? What do I value? And how do I live a life that is in line with those values?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so glad you felt that too. Okay. I thought I was
Oh,
alone.
I think that was a collective awakening in
Yeah.
2020. It made you actually stop and reevaluate. And I think that's why there's this mass job exodus now, and people are changing jobs more than they have ever, pretty much. And people are reallocating their lifestyles, just like making choices that are a bit different. And you did that before, and now you're slowing down. So it's just trying new things and reallocating, really.
It gave people the time
And
that they never had to ask themselves those questions. And then it also kind of in this weird, I don't know, like terrifying way at first, right? Like gave us this reality check where we realized like nothing's permanent. So it gave us permission through that to also say, you know, the next decision that I make doesn't have to be one that I'm projecting will be my life for the next 30 years. Like I can just make the next best decision, whether it lasts a year or 5 or 10 or whatever. This is just the next best thing for me because I've answered those 3 questions. And this is what I'm coming up with. But yeah, I think nobody ever had the time to do that. You know, when you spend more time in that, whether, you know, it was a role like what I did or a role like you, where, I mean, you're wearing your name tag that says like, yes, hello, my name is Lucy, but also like I'm embodying all of the, you know, ideals of this company, and I have to act a certain way and speak a certain way and carry myself a certain way. And then when you spend more time being that, then you spend just like being you, those lines get really blurry and you don't get the time or space to kind of like take a step back and like ask yourself, am I doing this because this is what I care about, or is just somebody telling me what I care about?
Or is it what I should be doing because I've been doing it for so long? Like, do I stay on the track? I guess so. I'm already here. Yeah.
That is the caveat of working, I'm sure in other arenas and for other companies, but working for a company like Disney, because it is, you know, certain roles are super coveted, and just the idea that you can like, especially when you're young, like live and work and play at Disney World sounds so appealing.
And it is.
It was pretty great.
And it is. And it's wonderful. And like, none of us would take it back for anything in the world. Yeah. But you sort of get caught in this like undertow, and everyone who stays forever, they've never taken the time to reevaluate. And maybe that's like the trick. Maybe Disney's like, we can't let them have too much time to think for themselves.
Oh my God.
Because they might start thinking about leaving.
Yeah, it's, I think just for your own personal mental health and your personal self, it's like take the time to check in. Even now, like, okay, the pandemonium, since we're using other words, is, you know, not over, but it's, you know, in a new phase now. So it's like, okay, do we like what we're doing now? It's been 2 years. We're not trying to get back to how it was in 2019 anymore. We're trying to like be where we are now in 2022. Do we like what we've built? Do we need to make changes? Do we, you know, need to evaluate what beliefs we have that are coming up that are limiting us and keeping us in a space that maybe we don't want to be in anymore? Or maybe things we've realigned now and we like it and we're going to cruise with it. So no pun intended, but you know, it's really taking the space for yourself. I think that's huge.
Oh, I hope everyone like does this while they're listening. Like pause the podcast.
I
think with yourself.
You need to pause it right after you said those like 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. Like that is the pause point where I literally want everyone to like pause it right after Lucy says that and write them down.
Okay, what actually makes me happy? What do I value? And how do I live a life that is in line with those values?
And then come back to it after the episode and answer them. But like at least write them down, because I think those you covered such a multitude of topics so well in those 3 questions. And you can kind of figure out what from 2019 and beforehand like still makes sense now. Like what can I bring from the before times that still makes sense here, and what just doesn't make sense anymore. And then like what kind of interfacing did I do in the in-between that has led me to this place where now like we have a filter that we didn't have before, which is a huge tool. We are, you know, older and wiser, but we're also more discerning, and we just have this lens of like, oh, here's what it looks like to potentially lose everything. So now what am I going to do now that I got through that and I still have all of this life left to live?
Wow, we're getting pretty deep.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to talk about Mickey Mouse and it's going to be great. And now we're like reevaluating our whole life.
I feel like that's how we always have discussion.
That is how it goes.
Yeah. It has to be a balance.
Yeah. And I think on the topic of like this big picture question and taking space for yourself, we wanted to ask you, Lucy, how do you personally decipher what your passions are? Like, how do you pick them out of the busyness of life? And like, what do they feel like to you?
That is such a good question.
Yeah, it's a cool question.
Yeah. I think if we're getting like super boring, if you literally just ask me like, what do I want to do? My answer is like super fluffy and a bit like, oh, shut up. But I just want to help people. So, and I know some people are like, ugh, that's so cliche, but genuinely, ever since I was 16, I was like, I just want to do something to help people. So I know it probably indirectly doesn't really look like I help people as a lifeguard, but I wanted to like save lives.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And now even in the job I do now, and then even being a cast member in your own way, you are helping people. The way I figured that out is I think I'm a compassionate person. So I guess that's such a hard question to be like, how can you figure it out yourself? How do you disrupt the noise? And like at the base of it all, if what you do and what you love isn't hurting anyone, and if you can then help people through it, whoa, like double whammy, like that's perfect, you know? I just want to help people.
Yeah. No, I think that's huge what you just said. Like, as long as it's not hurting anyone, if it brings you joy, if it lights you up, if it gets you out of bed in the morning, I feel like that's a passion.
Definitely.
You know, and if it's something that you can just kind of get in the flow with and you lose track of time even, you're like,
I love moments like that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I love this. Like, I'm so passionate about this. Because you care.
Yeah.
And that's
caring's important. Do you remember back in the day? Like, I don't know if this is still a thing because I'm not like down with the kids, but like, do you remember when it was like almost cool not to care?
Yeah.
Boo. I hated that phase. It was horrible. I was complete. I've always cared.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
That's so true.
But like, even back in the day, like 15, 16-year-old Luce, and like my mates that have known me since then will say the same thing. They were just like, you just like marched to like the beat of Lucy's drum. Like, I was open about loving Disney. I was open about loving all these really dumb, strange things. But because I owned it, like no one, again, it's probably how it was perceived like in telly shows and stuff. But like the way that like, especially in American culture, correct me if I'm wrong, but like people would make fun of you for being true to who you wanted to be, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, I mean, that was like how
we
our
were the
friendship
same
was
way.
born,
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah, throwback.
Yeah.
Wait, were
Yeah.
people mean to you because you like Disney, or like ostracized you?
Mean, they just were like, it's just like, oh, I
You're
don't,
like,
I
"Ugh."
don't get it.
Yeah, they weren't actively mean about it, but I think it's also because, like you, we just owned it.
Yeah,
We
you
didn't
just
apologize about
own
it. We didn't try to explain it to anyone unless people genuinely were curious. We didn't try to justify it. We were just like, this is what we live. This is
Yeah.
what brings us joy. And
Yeah.
we just truly, like, also marched to our own beat, did not care what other people thought. And it definitely helped to like have like somebody, like one other person.
Yeah.
And eventually there were like other, you know, our like kind of larger group of friends who got it.
We've said this even like way back when, we're like, if you are truly authentically you, the right people just find their way to you. Just I wish I knew how, but they do. They just,
it's like a magnet.
You, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, because I think like begets like. So authenticity begets authenticity. If you are authentic, you are going to attract authentic people. There is like a feeling. It is an energy thing. Like you can feel when someone's being genuine or when they're not. And it doesn't even matter if they're being authentic about the same things, like whatever their passions are. I get excited about the things that people in my life are passionate about, even if it's like not that interesting to me. I'm just excited that they're excited.
That's a great quality, and you should keep that.
So in keeping with authenticity, just because it's such a pillar of ReDIScover and clearly a pillar of Lucy, what keeps you grounded and staying authentically true to yourself just as you go through the changes and seasons of life in everything that you've been through that's led you here?
These are the deep philosophical questions.
The rapid fires are coming.
I was gonna say, this is like not rapid fire.
No, this is not provoking.
Again, I feel like I'll do like a Lucy's brain answer, and then I'll do an answer that probably more people will resonate with, because obviously what I'm about to say is super niche, and also what I'm about to say, I don't want anyone else to go through what I had to go through. But when I was a young woman, I had like really bad, I had cancer. Like, let's just address the elephant in the room. I always say like, oh, when I was sick, but like this was like a pretty bad sick. But that changes your everything. Oh my gosh, it changes everything. And again, anytime I bring this up, I then like kind of do like a little asterisk and be like, I'm not saying you have to go through a horrible medical traumatic experience, or someone you love has to go through something like that. But they do talk about like in your kind of younger adult years, if you do go through a trauma of such, like that's the thing, trauma is such a broad word, it can apply to anything, but like going through that, I wasn't the same woman that entered that whole experience. And I still go through it now because of the type of cancer I had. I now am like living without a thyroid gland. So every facet of my life is different. So to keep it kind of like a short Lucy answer, I think that I just kind of knew what it was like to be told that like everything could be taken away from me. And I just decided, I was like, well, I kind of don't want to feel rubbish anymore. So I'm just going to try and make every single day and everything I do just be chasing that contentment. Like it doesn't have to be amazing, 100% fantastic, magical sparkles and rainbows every day. You just have to chase that contentment and just be you. Honestly, like you realize how short life is. Like, yes, life is long, but then you also just realize like, what do I want to do with the time I've been given? Whew, it's so heavy.
It's a horrible thing that you went through, but you took that experience and you've brought such inspiration to people along your journey, whether they know that about you or not, because you just have this like glow about you. You bring light with you wherever you go.
I try.
And I think that's why like I love our friendship so much, and I love whenever we get to talk so much, because it has that perspective of like, if you were living life and like it could be taken away at any moment, like what would you do? Like what is so authentically true to you? And all of the noise and all of the excess busyness and all of the shoulds and the coulds and the would'ves like melt away, because it's like, oh, I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point in your life, whether it's a really difficult experience or not, like it just clicks. You know?
Yeah, it is like a click. It's like an epiphany moment.
Yeah.
But it, like I said, it doesn't have to be trauma can be so many different forms, and I think we all have our own kind of version and understanding, or kind of lack of understanding about it as well, because sometimes when you're going through it, you don't even acknowledge like this is a traumatic experience. Like it's taken me now, oh my gosh, I'm like 5 years deep, and I still like I still see someone about my mental health and I still bring it up. Like it comes up in our sessions. Like that time of my life is just, it was a blur, and I don't think I ever truly sat in my feelings, and I let it kind of ebb and flow and get into different facets of my life that I never wanted it to get into. So it's just like, you do just have to choose. Heavy. Just got to own it, try and own it, try and be it. And the fact that my scar is like, literally, I can't ever hide my scar. Again, this isn't a video podcast, but it's literally on my neck in between my collarbones. So like, no matter what I wear, everyone will see it. And so it comes up, and I'm just like, yeah, I got to speak frankly about it. Otherwise, I don't know. It's part of me. It's part of my story, part of my journey. The journey's the fun part, right? Yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Some might say.
It is true though. What Jess was saying, you do bring such a light with you wherever you, I mean, this is the first time, I'm not even like meeting you in person, but even just like my perception of your internet presence, which is huge, because as we know, so many people have completely just alternative personas on the internet, but that translates. And so I think that if you're able to share that light, even on such like on a social media platform, it must be so much brighter in person and everyone that you meet. And I think no one who would meet you and not see your scar would think that you had gone through anything so traumatic and life altering, because you are so joyful. And we as a culture and as a larger society have a really hard time understanding how people who have suffered can be joyful, or how people who are suffering can be joyful.
But the thing is, everybody suffers to some extent. Like it's part of the human experience. So it's so interesting that it's so taboo. And
because there's always going to be someone who's like suffering is just incomprehensible. Like somebody who's gone through what you've gone through. A lot of people would be like, how did you do that? Like, how are you still like this? Like, how do you just wake up and like get going every day, you know, even then and now. But there's always going to be like somebody who's got it better and who's like grass is always green to them. And there's going to be somebody who like, you just don't understand how they could have gone through it. But I think it's important to have both, because it makes you grounded and grateful in where you are, but also it gives you people to look to, like, well, if she can do this and still have this much joy, then clearly joy is not circumstantial.
Right. It's you choose the joy, and it's not based on the exterior
100%.
experience.
It's like I mean, this is me being a personal trainer, but it is like a muscle, like contentment, happiness, and joy. It is like, if you don't exercise it, it wastes away. You have to work on it. It's a choice every day. In the same way you get up and brush your teeth, you got to get up and be like, right, this is my frame of mind today. Be grounded. Word of the day, grounded.
Yes.
It is Taurus season.
It is Taurus season. So our last big picture question for you, Luce.
Woo, woo.
What advice would you give someone who wants to make a shift to live a more passionate and heart-centered lifestyle?
Checking in with yourself is so important. That is definitely the advice I'd give someone. I just think, honestly, it's kind of, we've spoken so much about being exhausted, and we've also kind of touched on how the pressures of like being a certain kind of somebody, that's exhausting. If you can just say to yourself like, right, let's just live me as me, you'll be like, this weird weight lifts off your shoulders. I don't know, not that I have ever tried to be anyone else, like air quotes, but like you do just sometimes get caught up in the bubble, whether it's like a Disney bubble or just a bubble of a cookie cutter or something that you're trying to put yourself in. I just think, just ask yourself, check in, am I happy? What, like they always say, like communication, honestly, like the job I'm now like in a managerial role where I have to like manage people management basically. And it's like communication, when you think about it, in business, in friendships, in relationships, in familial relationships, in everything. If you don't talk about it, how can you expect someone else or even yourself to know what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Communication with yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's such a good topic. Could go off on one on that.
It's like when have you ever like parted your hair on like the other side just for like something new?
Oh yeah.
And then the whole day you feel weird, like you feel like not yourself, and you're like, oh, and then finally you just go like this and you just like let it go where it wants to go. I think that's how that feels like if you're trying to fit into any persona or into the cookie cutter. It feels like that, like you just don't even feel comfortable in your own body.
No.
And that's really, like, again, the getting grounded thing. When you get grounded in yourself and you do take the time to check in with yourself, you realize like the pain points, the places where you've been lying to yourself. And if you're lying to yourself, like what quality of life are you actually enjoying?
Yeah.
And it's so much more work.
Yeah, no, it's exhausting, honestly. I think when you actually, because again, like now, yes, I'm tired, I won't lie. I feel like everyone in their late 20s, actually I feel just everyone's tired, full stop.
But like, so true.
Now I'm tired for a different reason, and it's because I'm just doing life.
Yeah.
I'm not rushing around, I'm not chaotic, I'm not chasing the chaos, I'm just doing life.
Yeah.
Tired in a good way.
Yeah.
It's your homeostasis.
Yeah.
Yes, good word.
Yeah.
Homeostasis.
We're gonna drift away from the big picture.
We're gonna
and end our episode with some rapid fires. We have some Lucy specific rapid fires, and then we have our classic 4 questions we ask all ReDIScover guests, and we're excited to hear your perspectives on all of these. It's gonna be fun. So
just like first thing that comes to my head, just say it, just let it happen.
It's so interesting because a lot, like everyone's got a different way of doing these, but like the idea is that. But if you have to explain it a little, it's okay. We're not going to be like, but
like in Family Feud.
We will not be Steve Harveying you. Okay, favorite Disney cruise ship?
Magic.
Okay.
The OG.
All right.
Your favorite cruise contract that you did?
I can't say it quickly, but
take your time.
The best one I did was actually the most chaotic. I did 5 weeks on the Dream. I then was told the day before, hey, you're transferring to the Magic in the morning. I was like, super fun, love that for me. They were like, you're flying back to England. You get 12 hours in England, and I literally live like half an hour from the airport. So I got to see all my family. Anywho, I then did 5 weeks in Europe. And then they were like, hey, fun fact, you're going to actually transfer back to the Dream now. So then I went back to the Dream for the final 3 weeks of my contract. So that was probably the best one, just due to the fact I got to see so much. And the Magic was then like the big 4. I'd done all 4 ships. So it was heavy, but it was such a good contract.
That's wild. Okay.
Hectic.
It is.
Favorite location you got to travel while on cruise line?
Castaway Key.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, I know, how lame. But I think because for me it's sentimental. Like on the Dream, you go there twice a week, and I had like my little Castaway routine. I'm a very routine kind of gal. Saying it out loud again, people won't resonate with this at all. But my Dream Castaway Key was late start, which meant I wouldn't start till like 2 p.m. So I could get off the ship, I could run for like an hour. I could then ride my bike for a little bit. I could then go swimming, go to Crew Beach barbecue, and then work like 2 till 10. And I know that probably isn't like, doesn't sound great, but hey, that was like a Lucy 10 out of 10 day. And that was my grounding day, was Castaway Key. Whereas I feel for guests, it's like hectic because they want to get everything done.
Right.
And I went there, twice a week for like 2 years. And I was like, I can take this island very slow.
Maybe it's because it was like the one routine type aspect of your life at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like a self-nourishing day.
Oh,
yeah.
That's probably a boring answer. But then I also like the Caribbean.
Yeah.
But Castaway Key.
Yeah.
End of. Okay.
Right. Okay. What was your favorite part of ship life and your least favorite?
My favorite part was probably the traveling. Actually, yeah, no, it was the traveling and getting a tan. My least favorite part was the perpetual state of exhaustion and hunger. It was mad, because as well, like I said, the control's taken away. They tell you when you can sleep, but then they also tell you when you can eat. Further to that, they tell you what you can eat, because let me tell you, it's very limited in the crew mess, and I'm vegan, and I would eat, I'm not selling it here, but I would just eat bowls of rice with salt and pepper.
Oh my God.
Pretty much every day, and then fruit salad and bananas.
No wonder you were hungry. You didn't
Honestly.
have any protein. My
oh
gosh.
Lord.
Okay. Kind of in the same vein, favorite and least favorite parts of your CRP.
Favorite part was just the non-stop adventuring, because you had both the time and the funds for it. That was honestly the best part. Was probably that I could be financially stable, which now is obviously like the dream. It seems like such a way away, but I could literally just wake up and be like, I want to go to New York City on Friday, so I'm going to work really, really hard and buy a last minute trip and just go to New York City. So that was definitely the best part, just the financial freedom to do adventures. The worst part was probably kind of I don't know how to phrase it, but like your end time would never actually be your end time, which again, this is like the tiniest thing. Like it literally didn't really affect anything, but if I had to pick one negative, your shift would be like either 11 till 5 or I think 3 till 10. You never get out of those times, let me tell you that for free. Oh my gosh, I could sometimes be there till like 11:30 at night, like cleaning forks. No bueno.
Those forks.
Yeah.
I know the cutlery. Again, anyone who's been on CRP triggered trying to get the cutlery tray. There was like this one lip to get it into the elevator. And if you like went over the lip funny with the trolley, all the cutlery would fall on the floor.
Oh no.
And you just spent like half an hour cleaning and cling filming it, and then guess what, you got to start from scratch again.
Oh my God,
the trauma.
Seems like there is a solution to that problem, but
they should probably fix the
they should probably
the elevator,
either the trolleys or the elevator. I
feel,
but I think in general, if you're someone who likes a hard out from your work, you should not work in a restaurant because there's no such thing.
Okay, so on the topic of Rose and Crown, what was your favorite menu item at the restaurant?
Big moves. Okay, so I'm gonna have to narrow it down, but they do, and again, sorry, it's gonna be a vegan answer, but
we need a vegan
spreading
answer.
The vegan message.
Haley also had a vegan answer.
Okay, good. I was gonna say Haley and I both went vegan literally around the same time on our programs. They do this vegan curry. And if you want to be really British, we will put curry sauce on chips as opposed to having like a curry with rice.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to do. You got to get the pub masala curry. It has tofu and then sub rice for chips. Whew, it's good.
That's a tip.
Yeah.
That
you got to do it.
I love curry.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that too, because I think Haley said the vegan bangers and mash were her favorite. So I love that we have like two.
Yeah.
Now we have two
solid
really vegan options.
Yeah, that curry sauce and the chips thing sounds.
It's good, and amazing. The chips are like, I don't know. Again, those chips. I don't know whether it's just because I was often exhausted, and at the end of the shift, sometimes they'd like give you some for free because they were closing down the kitchen. But those chips, let me tell you, they are something else.
There you go.
Fluffy in the middle, crispy on the outside. Oh.
Last of the Lucy rapid fires.
The Lucy rapid fire.
Favorite thing about London? This is just a cruel question. I feel like it's
just first thing that pops in your mind.
Okay.
Favorite thing about London right now, like today.
Okay, right now, my favorite thing about London is that I can just like pop out of my apartment, get a cup of coffee, get like a Greg's pastry, and just I live like right by the river, so I can just walk along the River Thames and just be like, I live here. Like, it's such a nice moment to just take a second and be like, you can see like all the rowers out on the river, and then we have like the Uber boat, lol, not sponsored. And yeah, it's just a nice moment to just take. The river is honestly like, I don't know about you, but like when you first got here and like you went to the South Bank and you saw like the Thames and the Eye and the Big Ben, you're just like, I'm in England, like I'm in London now.
That was the moment.
It's the best, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
it's a moment.
That's my
I love
favorite thing right
that.
now.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna do our final rapid fire questions for all ReDIScover guests by Lucy. So here we go. What does living authentically mean to you?
I think honestly, it just means, and we've said this phrase like 4 times, so hopefully people aren't bored of it, but just like getting out of bed every morning and just being you with all like your own weird quirkiness. And again, I feel the world has ruined the word quirky, because now I always think of like, I'm so quirky too.
Yeah.
But like just being just goofy and just being happy, making happiness in every day is authentic, I think.
Making
Yeah.
yourself happy.
Yeah.
If you could travel to one place anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
I think everyone knows what I'm going to say, but that's purely because it's been like 2 years and I need to get back to Orlando, Florida. I honestly, like, people are going to think that's such a cop-out answer, but it means so much to me, not just because of Disney, not just because of the theme parks and, you know, all the fun things that go along with it. But I don't know, I just feel like after the couple of years I've had, I'm just like, do you know what? Get me back to Orlando. Oh my gosh,
that's
get
a
me
fair answer.
back to the magic.
I love that. I love that, like, you're going anywhere in the world is literally like coming home. That's very cute.
It's been a long couple years. I know when we were reunited, I was like, are you real?
No.
Oh my gosh, crazy. All right. What is one thing you would be doing every day if your life were free of limitations?
This is going to sound proper sad, but I feel like I do it anyway. But I like to just exercise and use my body and be grateful for my body. I think now I'm a coach as well. Like I always say at the end of my sessions, I'm like, guys, let's just take a moment to say thank you to our body. It's just worked really hard for us. So I think if I could honestly just be outside, I also like being outside. If I could just be outside in nature every single day, and there was no consequence of like, you have to go to work. I don't know. I just love the ocean, the outside, green spaces.
Yeah, you don't have to rush anywhere.
Exercising.
Yeah.
That's so boring.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not. And especially like given the experience that you've had, like with your physical health, I think I think that's so appropriate to say, like, I'm grateful that I have this body that works so hard for me every day so I can live the way that I want to. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And like the thing with no limitations too, it's like then you could just do it as much as you wanted. Like you don't get
that's
tired.
how I'm viewing it.
You don't get tired. You don't have to rush anywhere. You can just like do it.
Intuitively. Yeah.
And there's a way to do that even with the quote unquote limitations of life now.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's good that you
it.
exercise that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a ReDIScover episode without a little pun. All right. Last question. What is one childlike quality that you think would be beneficial if adults utilized it in their daily lives?
I love this question so much whenever you guys ask it, because I think
good.
everyone should just ask themselves, like, just going back to my original, just like everyone should just communicate with yourself and find that childlike thing in you. For me, it's just being like just proper weird. There's a way of saying it without being like, act like you don't care about what people think, but I don't know how to say it any other way, but just act like goofy, act funny, act weird. Like I'm very loud in real life, and just I feel like even the other day when we were just like going around the city, I feel like we were just like cackling and just being loud and obnoxious. But then I feel like obnoxious as well, people have ruined that word, because to me that's like fun and childlike. Okay, you can't be like it all the time. Just be weird.
When you're so aware of everyone around you that you feel like you have to make yourself smaller to like fit into the larger mold, then you're limiting yourself. So if you're just more, I think that's what kids do. Like they don't care who's around them. If they want to like jump for joy or like do a little dance, like they're just going to do it because it's what feels right to them. They're not even looking at anyone around them.
The do a little dancing is 100%. Like my niece is 3 and she will dance to like, I don't even know, like if people have like a ringtone going off, she's like it's cute. And I think just little joyful movement anyway. I think in general, like the 2 answers, like be wonky and weird, but then also just like move your body
Joyful movement. I like that
Yeah.
phrase.
Joyful movement is the best way to view it. When you can't be bothered to like do a workout or go for a run or like lift weights, just be like, I'm going to do 20 minutes of joyful movement, whatever that looks
I
like
love
to
that.
you. It's
I
cool.
love that.
Nice
Yeah.
phrase.
Yeah. I'm
That's
a big,
Lucy Shiplee TM personal training.
big fan of that.
All right. Well, Lucy, if our listeners want to connect with you, do you want to share your socials or anywhere that they can find you
Of course.
to follow along on the journey?
Yes, come along, come join the Ship Shape crew. My personal Instagram is Lucy Shippers, spelled Lucey, and then Shippers is spelled Shipers. And then I do sometimes post on my personal training Instagram, which is Lucy Ship Shape. But then if you want to watch my YouTube videos, if you do ever want to do joyful movement, my YouTube is literally just my name, Lucy Shiplee. Super boring, but
Perfect.
come find me. Come join the journey.
We will link it in the show notes.
Yes.
Lucy's YouTube videos are great. I actually do them myself because they're nice and guided. And I'm a beginner athlete. I'm not an athlete at all.
Everyone's an athlete. Everyone is an athlete.
There we go.
I love that.
So yeah, I like it because it's very well explained. So, and easy to follow.
Thank you. Hey, thanks.
But
testimonials as well. Cool.
There you go.
There you go.
Well,
We give you the whole package when you come on.
I know. ReDIScover is
Come
just
on,
like a
ReDIScover.
little spotlight promo for whoever we're interviewing. And it's just so fun because highlighting all of the goodness that people have to offer, it's enlightening because there's more to the story than just like what you see in a picture or what you see in one conversation. It just like does the deep dive. So I'm so glad we got to have you, Lucy. We've just been dying to have you on ReDIScover, and I'm glad we waited because now we got to do it in person.
Right, this has worked out.
Yeah, and it's been so much fun. I feel like this conversation was so enlightening. We went from like work days to like deep conversations to lifestyle to everything.
That's how it goes.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming
Of
over and for
course.
being on the pod.
Yeah, it's like a sleepover.
I was literally going to say, I feel like we could all just be like sitting around having a glass of rosé. Just like
Yeah.
life.
I know.
That's
Just girls. You know,
that's kind of the whole vibe.
yeah. And I
the
hope
whole
when people
point.
listen to it, they feel like that too. Because when I listen to like other people's like Haley's and that, I was just like, oh, just sitting with my girls,
Yeah.
just having a
Aw.
glass of wine. It was really nice. I mean, I was on a bus. It wasn't as glamorous as being.
There was no
You're-
wine.
I felt like it.
Your internal dialogue and feeling was
Yeah.
aligned to that, which is
But
what we're going for.
Yeah, I think that's the great part about it is like wherever you are, wherever you're listening, like even if you've had a stressful day or if you're stuck on, if you're on a bus or if you're on the subway, if you're stuck in traffic, like hopefully listening to this kind of takes you out of that space and puts you into a happier, more relaxed place, maybe where you're having a glass of wine or coffee just with some friends. So
With the girls.
With
Yeah.
the girls.
With the girls.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. We have one more London Bridge episode coming for you in 2 weeks. So come back.
London Bridge?
Yeah. So
Of course, the theme.
our theme is London Bridge because we have Vinny first episode, you second episode, 2 Brits, and then we have London travel episode preview coming next.
We're
next
bridging between the UK and the US.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
We will talk to you next time. Lucy, thanks for coming on. It's just been so fun.
I'm waving like they can see me. See you later.
Aw. But yes, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for listening. Share this episode with anyone who needs, literally just everyone.
If
if
you have
you-
anyone interested in cruise line or cultural representative program, it's a great share.
Yeah. Or just if you know of anyone who's just kind of going through a rough spot or a challenging season and just needs to feel uplifted. This was extremely uplifting for me. So I'm sure it will be for everyone else.
Yeah. So if you want to dive into figuring out what your passions are, it's a good little jumping off point. So
Diving board, if you will.
yes. Lifeguard jokes.
Hey.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
See you later. Woo. I really need the loo.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of ReDIScover.
If you haven't already subscribed, hit that button and join the ReDIScover fam.
If you're like us and you have opinions about everything, leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. Your positivity inspires our creativity, and we love hearing from you.
Join us every other Tuesday for brand new episodes full of rediscovery.
And each month has its own unique theme, so be sure to catch them all.
Follow us on Instagram at positively.kristen and at jessicafay508.
And check out Jess's blog at theroadjesstraveled with 1l.com.
Until next time,
bye!